I'm Dena Blizzard, and I live in South Jersey. I'm a mom of a 21-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 16-year-old.
She wants to go rollerblading. Hours a day.
I consider us an anxiety family. My daughter has anxiety. It's kind of a commonality among us. It wasn't lost on me that I have a student in college who's having to deal with the stresses, but I also have a student who's not seeing any other students in college. I do find myself really checking on them mentally because this is an age group that isn't as apt to tell you. What I've learned is to really teach my kids about honoring other people's opinions and not being divisive, especially with everything going on. I've had to also teach myself about being grateful. That's a word that we use a lot because when it feels like everything is taking away from you for you don't know how long, it's hard to have a grateful heart.
I'm Michelle Taylor Willis, and I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a mom of 4 boys, and they are 21, 14, 12, and 9. Parenting during the pandemic has been, I would say, about the same as it was before. We've pretty much trained our children to live life a certain way, no matter what the circumstances are. We have no control of what happens outside of our control.
Like, it was at the YMCA.
That's not a pandemic lesson or a quarantine lesson. Control what you can control.
Joining us from her home in Atlanta, Michelle standing by in New Jersey. Dena is there. And joining us from the LA-based clinic, psychologist, Dr. Jenny. Yep, thank you, Dr. Jenny, for joining us as well. Dena, let's start off with you. Your daughter, Jacqueline, didn't get a chance to experience the biggest part of her life at that point, her senior prom, freshman year away at college. Now we're looking at round number 2. All of these things could be impacted again. How is she handling it?
It depends on the day. I think that that's kind of our motto. We all try to not have a bad day all on the same day. So it was like her turn for the majority of this past year to have bad days. But overall, I think that on our house, having the ability to not think about the things that you've lost, but being grateful for where you are and the fact that everybody is safe has kind of been our motto. We missed graduation. We had a small one at the school, which was like 30 minutes long, and then everybody ran away. We didn't have prom last year for her, so we did a street prom. So our neighbors got together, and we had 5-year-olds in the prom. We had, moms and dads. But then it was time for her to go to college. I'm actually sitting in what was our old shed. We turned it into what we call a shedorm for her. She was supposed to go away, and it was obvious that that wasn't going to happen. So we took the shed that we had put in last year, which was filled with Christmas trees and tools, and turned it into a dorm for her. So it felt like she was going somewhere. I'm like, you're still going to college. It's just that college is in the yard in the dirty shed now, which is actually quite lovely.
Dr. Yip, I've been curious with all the news of the increase, hopefully soon, of the distribution of the vaccine to people over, the age of 18. We hope to see as adults a light at the end of the tunnel. We don't know when the kids under 18 will be able to get this vaccine. So as we all hope we're in line, how do we balance that expectation, especially with, the high school age who won't qualify, but they're old enough to process and see what's in the news so far, and they're not on the list?
Right. Well, the thing is, kids are really adaptable. And I think what I'm more concerned about are the kids who actually don't care about getting the vaccine. I mean, I'm hearing so much more from parents at my practice about kids who aren't following the social distancing guidelines, are getting together with their friends. And we're talking about the older teens, not the younger kids. So, I think these kids are going to be more capable at bouncing back. And kids are very resilient and adaptable if we give them that opportunity to.
Michelle, your son's 21 years old, moved back at home to start in the lockdown. As I understand, you were a bit worried when he went off to school about his independence and whether you had, whether or not your bird was really ready to fly. And now your bird comes back to the nest and is stuck in the nest. And to your surprise, you say, he was a lot more independent than you believed.
Yeah, it is crazy, Tamron. This kid, first of all, is an amazing cook, which is great. Some of that stuck. But him coming back, being in the house, I'm seeing that he is so disciplined. He's industrious. He's creative, and he has grit and grind in him. Like I don't see in a lot of 50-year-olds or 40-year-olds, right?
Mm.
He's in school full time. He's on the dean's list. He works for me on my show. He, works at the network part time, and he has his own production company.
And you
And
would
he
not have known these things about him had you not been stuck in the home with him at this point.
Well, yeah, it's crazy because, I had inklings of it,
Yeah.
but you don't really know. It's like before you get married, right? You don't know what somebody's like till you start living with them.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's the same thing with him. I was like, oh my gosh, this kid is amazing. I mean, he stays up all night and works. He stays up all night and goes to school. He's just fantastic, and I'm so proud of what he's become. And so,
Well, he's going
I
to be
always
happy
said,
to
when
hear
you
you
leave,
saying it on national TV. I love that. But Dena, let me bring you in because you're not just a mom, you're a funny mom. And so often our kids don't think that we are funny because they see the more serious side of us trying to discipline and navigate. Your relationship with your children, your daughter, in this difficult time, is the fact that she gets to know you in a different way and you get to know her in a different way, I guess one of the bonuses of an awful situation?
I mean, I think that the interesting thing is, like Michelle's saying, is I'm not home with little ones. Listening to those stories, so difficult. Just the time, the intensity of that time. It's different. I have adults. I have young people that I'm not supposed to, boss them around anymore. But they do nothing. They're not helpful. They're not Michelle's son. Let me fix it out. I have a very different son than Michelle's son, and so we went through phases like. I'm like, you're living here. At this point, you should be paying rent. You're not. So you have to do chores. I literally took all the dishes and cups out of my house and I replaced it with a set of camping gear I got on Amazon. And I was like, we're camping now. Like, I'm not the cafeteria lady. You're not at college. You got to step it up. Like, they're very different conversations that I'm having with my kids at this age than I hear some of the younger moms having. And I think that, we're an anxiety family. We were an anxiety family well before the pandemic.
Right.
And if you didn't have anxiety coming into this pandemic, you definitely have it now. And so, speaking about resilience, there was a very difficult time with my youngest where she just couldn't go to class. She was in the guidance office. I was like, can you get her to do some filing or something?
Right.
Like, she's doing nothing. She's not going to school. But I learned that after this month and a half long process that I thought she'd be so far behind and how is she going to catch up? And,
And she's
similar to the
okay.
things that we're talking about now, she's fine.
Oh, I love
And you
hearing that.
do see that resilience. And
Wow.
so,
Well,
if I could talk to my younger self and remember, I worried about everything. And
Yeah.
now that I'm one of the older moms, I realize kids are really resilient. And if
oh
you
my
give them
goodness.
lots of
Well,
hugs,
you're going to have your
you'll
comforting words to a lot of parents listening right now. Michelle, Dena, thank you.